All right, it's time for raising funds for World Domination, day number 260. So there's a minor update on the renoviction situation today. I got a piece of mail from the tenant board saying that the tenant board's council has acknowledged that they have been served with the appeal. So I still don't have any official information on the appeal, but we'll see how that goes. So I guess the way it works is so the landlord is appealing it above the tenant board to divisional court, and so the I don't know if the tenant board is a party, or I think they maybe can provide some information, and I don't know if they testify or something, or but I guess they're looped into this process. So they were it was just a piece of mail to provide some contact information. So I'll follow up with that. But yeah, I still haven't received any official notices from the divisional court, which I assume I would have like a case number and stuff. I guess since this is divisional court, I might actually have to go to a physical court or something. But we'll see how that goes. In other news, there's a couple new block types added to the store. So get your new sponsored block types now before they go. And today I also made some good progress on the next long form video. And as usual, we will continue with work on the terminal block mining simulation game. What's up, Plex64? How's it going? So yesterday, I made some decent progress moving the text input area into like a wrapper class for it, and I think what I'll do. All right, still works. I think I may actually just change it into like a form. Os Norman, 8050 says, Happy New Year, Robert. Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Hopefully this is a a good and uneventful year for you. Thanks. Hope you get the housing litigation and all that sorted out. Everyone gets a positive outcome. Yes, it's not just me. There's still I don't actually even know everyone else's case. There was 60 of us in total. I think there's around like 30 of us who like officially won and were able to keep the apartment. I think maybe a handful of those have since left the building anyway. But we'll see, because it's really higher stakes for some of the older people who are kind of like, they're probably in the last few years of their life. They don't really want to go anywhere else. For me though, I don't know. Personally, I don't really care what the verdict is. Right now it's just an appeal, so. And I still don't know what they're going to argue on the appeal. Because honestly, I think their case is pretty weak. I think they're just going through the motions to try and shake out a few more people. Typical response. Typical response. Drag out litigation. Bureaucracy can wait out any individual. Yep. That's the strategy, I think. Ever worry about your long-term housing being subject to other people's whims like this? How difficult appealing would it be for you to realistically relocate? Right now, economically, that's not an option. I think the most viable strategy would just be probably move back with parents for a bit. I mean, my story's not unique, though. The system in general is starting to come undone. I think it's like in Canada, there's I don't know the latest stats, but there's some like a substantial percentage of households are like cash flow negative now, and people are like, the only way people are surviving is just by like putting groceries and like essentials on credit cards. So consumer debt is mounting. When we had the pandemic, the government bailed everything out, and now all that stuff is starting to dry up. So everyone's racking up tons and tons of debt, and we're going to go through a major debt crisis soon. There's I guess there's questions about like how long can this go on. I think the governments can, like the way they avoid previous crises, they just print money, bail things out, which inflates asset prices. But the question is like, what is the limit of that? And I think that the limit is comes when people stop, when like institutions stop having faith in the individual countries. So there will come a day when the government says, "Oh, we'll just avoid this problem by printing money and stimulating the economy," but then no one will fund the debt, so no one will buy the bonds. There'll be no counterparty to finance it. So then the hedge funds and billionaires and stuff that buy the bonds just won't show up, or they'll demand extremely high yields, which will push up interest rates, which then the whole thing will just kind of, if they push up interest rates for those bonds, that will that'll compete for other sources, other debt instruments. So everyone's rates go up, and then people default. And so glad I hold Bitcoin. I saw something today about I think it was the EU. It's like I just remembered the headline. Maybe you can fill me in on it. The EU said that they're going to make like Bitcoin illegal or something, or it's like a criminal, it's a criminal currency or something like that. Or some organization in the EU. But I mean, they're always going back and forth on trying to outlaw it or do the opposite of whatever the government wants. The government wants people to buy stable coins and bitcoins now. Actually, I saw there was a thing on CTV I saw in the last couple of days talking about like young people are investing these days. And said a lot of young people are investing in cryptocurrencies. So that tells me that I should invest even less in cryptocurrency. Giordani says, "Hello there. How's it going?" UBI, we all need a serious talk about this. As the system has devolved, we're not everyone can have a job. Governments need to rework the tax system. Massively complex, no single solution. I think if universal basic income is created, it will effectively just be a subsidy. Like in practice, what will happen is it'll just become a subsidy for like rent seeking. It'll basically be the government hands you a check for $2,000 for your rent, and then you take that $2,000 and you hand it to your landlord. And so basically the money flows from the government directly to the landlord, and then next year the landlord will increase the rent because they can squeeze a bit more. Now you still have to get a job. You're on UBI, but your UBI is not enough to afford the rent. So then next year they raise it, and then it just keeps going up. And then you'll have $1 million a week from UBI, but your rent, you still won't be able to pay your rent. How difficult is it to start an LLC in Canada? Do things even work like that there? In LLC, I don't remember if the concept of limited liability corporation exists, because that's a special thing. I know of within each province, you can have a corporation. You can have a provincial corporation that's incorporated in the jurisdiction of the province, and you can also have a federal corporation, which is incorporated at the Canada-wide, and then that federal corporation will register in every corporation in every province it does business in. The process of starting a corporation in Canada is very easy. Actually, in some of my business videos, I talked a little bit about I think I have a video on how to start a business, and then I have a video on law, and I think I talk a little bit about. I just kind of glossed over it a bit, but it's actually quite easy to start the business, but then to operate it and to do all your filings and to do whatever to make money. That's the hard part. What do you invest in then? I don't invest. I have no money. I just barely survive. I'm excited this semester. I'm a full-time student. Nice. Still needs to be value creation to support any UBI. Money machine can't just go burr. But economists keep inventing theories saying that it can. It would be a subsidy unless the system is actually reworked to be effective. No single answer, but about 1,000 things would need to change. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super hopeful. I kind of think it's. We are kind of going toward that system where like the government just gives out money to people, and I think that's probably going to increase, but I think it's not going to be sustainable. Must like and subscribe and comment on all Robert Elder videos. Excellent. My favorite TV show, we all come together after World War III and eliminate poverty and hunger. The amazing future envisioned is turning from Star Trek world to mirror universe. Yeah. Okay. Now let me think about how this is going to work. I may have to make some updates to this. Mirrors in the Terran Empire. Terran Empire. I'm not familiar with that empire. Pseudo reboot? What's that related to? Favorite Linux commands? Those are pretty good ones. So the default way this menu works just take the text and then print each line. But I guess ideally I want to give the rendering ability of the menu item to the menu itself, or to the individual option. Another thing that I wanted to do with this is if there's too many options in the list, it really needs a scroll bar. I like the nvim command. I like the vi command. Favorite editor is ed. That's a pretty good one too. Now, something I can't remember. Is if I can partially scroll down list items. Going on a shopping spree at Robert Elder Shopify. Nice. Gonna use a stolen credit card? Don't do that. Then I'll get flagged. My account will get shut down. Do you solve the scroll bar chicken and egg situation? I forget. Not sure what you mean by that question. Yeah, maybe this does. Oh, it's lagging. It's like a scroll bar needed to know frame content sizes to decide to appear. Oh, yeah, I did eventually. And it's very laggy. Let's see. Yeah, I rewrote that list thing like 5 times. Okay, so this is so the list, it's a 2D list, so, or it's basic more like a table or a grid, depending on what options I specify to it. So in this function, that this kind of figures that out. So okay, so here it assumes. Okay, calculate. Okay, so I have this to calculate the width or height. It calculates differently depending on whether you include the scroll bar. So I start by assuming that it does not need a scroll bar. And then I check if it has a scroll bar. So if I assume it doesn't have a scroll bar, and then based on those heights and widths, if it has one scroll bar, then redo the calculation assuming it does. And so that way it's not constantly flipping back and forth. And that is the chicken and egg problem I think you mean. What happened if I create an algorithm that tried billions of credit cards? I would then try emulating different devices. I would eventually get one, or is it too complicated? Have you tried to buy stuff with tons of credit cards? I guess eventually you'd probably, there are probably people that try to spam stuff like that, but that's probably after you do like, the first 5 random credit card numbers that don't go through, or like that don't match, because you have to put in billing and shipping information. If that doesn't match, then that's a pretty bad signal. And if you do that a couple times, you'll probably your IP gets blacklisted probably. Guessing name, number, security on card. Best of luck. Yeah, I'm sure there's bots out there that try that. But I would have to imagine they're pretty unsuccessful because the difficulty of doing that. You could do that with a large language model now. You could just say, ask ChatGPT, give you realistic numbers. Okay, interesting. So this does not scroll down if I try. So that's kind of not ideal. If I want to use that for the help menu. Yeah, I guess this list still, it considers the selected item, not necessarily the column offset, which will require a whole bunch more thought. bit, lots of code duplication here. I guess this might not be too bad. Oh man. So many UI things to fix. I can't fix them all. It's just gonna take too much time. For tabbing through things, is there going to be an explicit notion of tab order? Or will it always be the natural internal order of UI elements? I think for now, like, I can kind of, expand this out to be more complex as necessary. So right now in this class, so I'm starting, I guess first thing, it's been 30 minutes, I haven't accomplished anything. I'll probably rename this to form. The way I'll probably do it is, I'll just call this like input form. Input form. And then it'll be input form and text input area. And then I'll do like 10 of those. And I'll just make the tab order based on when I instantiate these, or when I add them. And then if I want to change the tab order, then I'll just rearrange the lines of code for now, probably. I think that's a decent way to make it work for now. All right, let's see if that compiles. Yeah, I guess what I was thinking about doing is this will have to be accessible from the help menu, and to add like an input dialog form into the help menu. Right now the help menu is just a list of like lines of text, and it renders them through that little loop that was there at the start of the stream. Ideally, because I already have like subclasses for the menu items, if every menu list item had a renderer, then one way to do it would be to render that, when I render the menu item, when I render the help menu, it just iterates through the list of things and tells each item in the list to render itself. And the result of that, so that way, if you had like a menu item that was something complex that took up multiple lines, then it could just render itself. I guess there would have to be two I'd have to have maybe two passes. Maybe like a first. So every help menu item would have a method that returns how tall it is. Like, preferred width, preferred height. And it would iterate through that and then use that information to figure out the dimensions. I guess that's also an issue because if I make it a list, a scrollable list, the list assumes that items in the list are the same size. Are you originally from Pakistan? I am not from Pakistan. Do I look like I'm from Pakistan? How hard would that? I don't think the names are that unique. I don't remember what you're asking about. How hard would that? I don't think that names are that unique. Are you still talking about the credit card thing? I look Bangladeshi. Oh, maybe it's like the. I don't know. I don't think I look Bangladeshi. There's a purple filter, purple light in the room. Does that? I guess that maybe makes me look a bit discolored. That's the first time I've ever had someone say I look Bangladeshi. There's a first for everything. I guess for me, was talking to a woman. There's a first for everything. For me, was talking to a woman. I don't really understand what that has about looking like Bangladeshi, but someone from Bangladesh, but. You talk to women often? Now do I have success with love? No. That's unfortunate. You gotta get better with your words. Learn some poetry. Should I call this an input form container? I'm gonna go with that for now. I just overrode that. Robert got all the woman. My Russian accent is not good enough. That's unfortunate. I guess you can practice more Russian. Gotta chat in English. Otherwise I can't moderate the chat. Okay. What next? Are you from England? Nope, guess again. You'll get it eventually. It's not Bangladesh. It's not England. It's a different country. Irish? Yeah, I think I've got some Irish in me, but I'm not from Ireland. Any recommendation I would get to get a woman that uses NVIM? I think you said you were starting classes. You said before you were starting classes somewhere as a full-time student. If you're doing on campus somewhere, you can. That can be a good conversation starter. I think I'll need to create my own NVIM distro to impress. That's one strategy. You could also. You can also feign weakness to try and meet women. You could go out and if you're at a university, you could just walk up to women and then be like, "Hey, can you please teach me NVIM?" And then they'll be like, "Oh, sure, I'd love to teach you NeoVim." And I'll show you all the different key combinations and stuff. That's how you can start your relationship. But really, you knew the key combinations all along. It was just a ploy. Told him he got an internship from BBC. Works all the time. I've never known that specifically to be something that people find impressive. Isn't BBC they're going down the tubes? Nobody wants to work there anymore. They're a legacy media. Appreciate my innocence. Well, thank you. Is that in relation to my comment about the BBC? Let me think. I want to get this done and not overcomplicate it, but I also have to think about how the layout is going to work. Have a wonderful day, everyone. You as well. Hugs to all. Hugs to all, and enjoy the weekend. Off to hike Mount Wellington here in Tasmania. Nice. I wouldn't mind going for a walk, or going for a nice hike. It's been a while since I did that. I lived in Tasmania. Summer days are often cooler than my winter days. Isn't Tasmania, though, it's kind of... Is Tasmania safe? I will say that I worked for an international company providing excellent service on a high-demand environment. Maybe with that, I will get if. Whilst Australia burns in 40°C heat, Tasmania is 20°C windy and rainy. A very safe place. Tasmania. Oh yeah, Tasmania, the island off the south coast of Australia. I was thinking, for some reason, I was thinking of the like Central African country, Tanzania, I think. Or no, Tunisia. I had a boss once who was, I think, from is it Tunisia or something? $520K population. I think I watched a YouTube video recently of someone. I think they were panning for gold. They found some like river in Tanzania or something. There's apparently some really, really good rivers there for gold, and he actually found like most of these gold hunters go in the wilderness and they just find like $10 worth of gold, but this guy was actually making money with it. There are also no strategic points of interest that I can tell. Safe haven, the world ends. There's also I don't know if it's on Tanzania. I think it's like one of those other coastal islands down around that area. It is, or it was, the record for one of the saltiest lakes on Earth. On some like island down there, probably volcanic. When do you project World War III will start? From all the like geopolitical analysis that I've seen, my assessment is that World War III started in 2014, and it's been ramping up ever since. Myrtle Forest Walk, Tanzania. That's where I'll be. Isn't that Northern Africa? Yeah, might be. I think it's a sub-Saharan Africa or something. So one of the like very dry, deserty places. Yeah, that's why I asked if it was dangerous, because I thought at first I was thinking about that African country, and I think he was saying that it's like actually dangerous. There's like if you see someone stopped on the side of the, like someone with a flat tire or something, you don't necessarily stop to help them because you don't know if it's like an ambush or something. I think it's Tunisia, I think. Yeah, one of those. Djibouti is super salty. That's right on the... That's over there by Eritrea. All right, let's fix this. So there's no default cursor. If you are a president of a third world country, what would you do to improve it? That's a good question. A big problem is countries are always interfering with other countries. So I think the most significant thing in today's geopolitical environment, the most significant thing would not be anything to do with like economics or whatever. It'd be like get some kind of like trade agreement or something going with a bigger country. But then again, other countries can just boss you around. So it's hard now that the rules-based world order is going by the wayside. And then there's also rich billionaires who come into your country and they're like, this is mine. Britain and France hadn't interfered with Canada. It'd be in Europe, maybe. Maybe. I don't even know what specific time frame you're being. How to make a CPU? Help me, please. Oh, that's easy. First, get a rock, then smash the rock. Now you've got 98% concentrated silicon dioxide. Then purified to 99.999999% silicon dioxide. Or no, not silicon dioxide, silicon. And yeah, then there's the rest. If you are a businessman, what industry would you get into in a third world country? I am a businessman. What industry would you get into in a third world country? Depends what's in the country. It depends on what social and organizational structures exist. Talked about Africa, maybe somewhere there. I don't know. I don't know enough about Africa. Africa has lots of resources, but people have been taking advantage of Africa for centuries to take their resources. China has a significant presence there. France has historically had presences there, and India. I think whatever you did, any foreign country doing stuff there would have to have a significant understanding of all that history, which I don't really know much about. That's not right. That's close, but and that's why. Elon Musk's dad did pretty well in South Africa. Did he? I'm not sure. With those kind of figures, it's always hard to tell because it's like everything's super political. People who hate Elon will say like, oh, his dad, he had an emerald mine or something, and he got super rich and was wealthy. But then I heard other things that said that the emerald mine, he had like shares in an emerald mine or something, and he didn't even have much money, and it wasn't that successful. But what the truth is, I have no idea. Nice. We got a super chat contribution for broken condom insurance. All right. Well, thank you for the $2. That's it's a pretty random reason for a super chat, but I'll take it. Best gifts are wrapped. Are they though? There's probably at least a few counterexamples to that aphorism. I bet you'd be pretty happy to unwrap a car. That's true, I would. But that'd be a lot of work to wrap a whole car. You'd have to spend, it'll cost you a lot of money and a lot of time. See, I found a counterexample. All right, let's see if that will set the cursor position on startup. Okay, so I want to initialize this to something. should be able to figure that out later. That should be in the render method. This thing sets the placement offset. And then when this thing sets the cursor position, sends the cursor position, should be correct. Still broken. Oh, it's even more broken now. All right, that looks good. All right, now it has a default form. There's a default cursor position set when I tab over to it. My other text area is not showing up. If you were 18 today, which degree would you get? It's a really hard question to answer because, I've been thinking a lot more lately than like the most economic possible thing. Like it's kind of a crazy idea, but if you just like dropped out of high school and started like scavenging building materials for a house, you could probably just build, if you just made your full-time occupation just building your own house, and you would like build your own, like that would be a monumental task for a teenager, but it would take you like years and years, but you would probably be able to do it eventually. You'd have to like watch a ton of YouTube videos on how to do everything. And then just get a house, and then now you've got a house. If you had a piece of land in the middle of nowhere, I mean, it's hard to get started because you'd have to have some initial cash. So even to buy like a small lot, you'll probably get one for a few $1,000s. But that would also kind of suck, building your own house in the middle of nowhere with no help as a teenager. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. AI is going to disrupt things significantly. I mean, computer science probably will still bounce back. But I think the rate of change is not going to slow down. In one way, it's kind of exciting because there's always something new. Like I thought at this point I would be doing more like professional software development for business, but right now most of my income is shifted to coming from the stuff on YouTube. Something wild about the internet is subsea cables. That's true. It's a miracle of modern technology. It took like a couple hundred years to get that perfected. The first ones they spent all that work laying the cable and it didn't even work. Now let's see what happens if I default it on the second text area being selected. Do ISPs make money from them, from undersea cables? ISPs is probably like too specific on the technology stack. I guess you'd have to look into the infrastructure. It's probably like venture capital firms or governments, like pension funds. I think the cable itself is probably considered like an infrastructure project, like a highway or a bridge or something. And those get financed by like companies that have huge money. But I think like Google and stuff, they will make them. And then in terms of where the money comes from, like I'm sure at Google scale, Google probably has massive infrastructure that they just use, purely for internal stuff. So they would make money, but indirectly. It probably varies by cable. But anyway, that was what I wanted to accomplish for tonight. I made a couple fixes. So now when you tab over to the frame, it'll there's an initial cursor position, and yeah, I did some renaming. I guess maybe next stream I'll I should probably make like an abstract base class for the text input area, and then I'll might make like text input area, form input area, form input button or something, and that'll give me support for like form input, form label, and form button. And with those three things, I can implement what I want to implement for the input for the connection. And I guess I could probably make it. Eventually, I could probably make the UI a bit better with the scroll bar and stuff, or the scrolling list. But I don't know. It won't be very big, so maybe I won't have to worry about that for now. I'll just finish the multiplayer progress. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I will be back tomorrow night for day 261. All right. Have a good night.